Welcome to the studio. I was going to talk a little bit about how you do the basic customer contact. Now, you might be in a position where you say, I don't have any customers, I only photograph my family and so on. But they're in a sense also customers, in that you would like them to get happy with the result. So, it is quite important to distinguish between the photographs you personally think are cool and superb and really well done, and the ones your customers think are cool and good and well performed and so on. I have in my family, she's not amongst us anymore because she is deceased, but a very famous portrait painter. And she told me a very interesting story, which is to this point. Now, she made this portrait of this woman, and the husband said, wow, that's really spot on. And the woman on the portrait, she simply hated the portrait. Okay? So that is a situation you can actually get into very often. You do a picture which is very good, maybe artistically superb, but the customer don't like it. Now, you have to actually make a choice at some point and not try to persuade people to your ideas too much. You have to distinguish between the artistic photos. I've done a lot of photos which is simply art, where I am the creator and it's my idea, and that is photos which is basically going towards a sales point, like fine art prints and so on. Yeah. Then it's you who is the boss. But when you have a client in the studio, they're always right. I mean, you can give them good advice in terms of what would look good, what would do this, what would do that, but it's basically the customer who is right. So how do you, in a very basic sense, handle that? I do that with one simple question as an opening. I do this thing, I ask the customer, so let's say you come into my studio. What would be the first thing I will say to you? I'll give it to you as it comes out. They come in the studio and say, all right, come inside. And so, when you talked about this at home, let's say it's a family photo, what was your thoughts? What did you have in mind? What is the intended use? Is it going to hang on a wall, or what is it? What are we going to do? Oh, this is a present for a 70-year-old birthday. I just did that 1 hour ago. So, and in that sense, there is this very particular thing. It should be a certain size. It should be black and white, and it would end up with a silver frame on canvas, and it's basically going to be a very nice photo for this person, right? But it's very specific, and it's I know it's an elderly person who's going to receive this photo. There's a target group, and it's a grandparent and so on. So it needs to match that. You need to know who is the audience, and then you should do something superb for that person. Now, you might have your artistic ambitions, okay? You have to, if you want to be a professional, you have to differentiate and say, okay, right now I'm trying to help the customer to get a really nice portrait. I have done so many artistic photos that I have no ambitions in terms of, oh, I need to try that, I need to try that, I need to try that. I wouldn't say I've tried it all, but I've tried a lot of different stuff, right? And I'm not saying you need to do that much to get to be this relaxed about it, but basically when a customer comes in the door, I am there to service them. I'm there to help them get that thing. And what is that thing? I will help them to get an expression which is highly personal, technically well performed, and is basically something they can say, yes, that's us, that's me, and be satisfied about it. You know, it's not me. I'm not the customer. I don't need, as a photographer, I will put this in now and again, and I would say, I really like this photo. And I will also say, I really like, after I have talked to the person at first, or the family at first, and I've found out, I would probably show on my big screen, I will show them some samples and try to decode what kind of pictures do they really like. Are they very traditional? Are they very untraditional? Should it be very funny? Should it be like, wow, this is really acrobatic, or what should it be? So in that frame of mind, I have sort of like an idea about who is the customer. And then I would say, well, I think this is really cool, this picture here. And mostly I have them pinpoint. But now and again, they will say, I really like this one. And I'm a little bit surprised. And in a very gentle way, I try to find out why. If I'm surprised for more than 2 seconds, that is, usually I can see why it is they like this photo. But when you take 30 photos, that is very usual. If you take a family photo, I shoot 30 photos over 2-3 minutes, maybe like that. And then there is 4 or 5 very good ones, might be quite different to each other. But so we look at these photos on a big screen so everybody can see it. And then we pick out and talk about what's there and so on. So basically also when I do a photo session, I get an instant review before I proceed to the next thing, because they might have this idea, we want to do this family photo, and then we also want to do, we need a portrait of this person for that and that purpose, business purpose, and it might occur in the same session. This is very usual. It's very usual for me. I would say 70% of the clients, they order more than one photo, maybe 80%, 90% even. So most, okay? So, so what am I getting around to saying? I didn't know when I sat down. So, but it's basically how to handle a customer. And you have to know that you're dealing with a customer. You're not dealing with a client who's going to buy one of your art prints, because that's something else. That's so entirely different. This is somebody who is making an order for family photo, which is going to hang on their mother-in-law's wall. Well, that has to live up to certain things. And it could be quite different from a family photo they want to have hung on their own wall. You can do both. And I mostly do, because let's face it, also when you're a photographer and during 1 hour, which is my usual session time, I would try to help the client get as many of his wishes fulfilled and have as much fun and a good time with the client also, because there is an almost mathematical formula, a formula of how to have happy clients. And it goes like this. Of course, it's a given thing. The work you are doing should be technically perfect. That's a given. So you have to know your equipment. But as a second thing, it should be that they should have a really nice time. Because if they have a really nice time, they relax a lot, and there'll be a nice flow of things, and you get some very natural stuff happening, and you'll be able to squeeze the trigger at the right times, and you get some nice photos. So the happy times is just so important. I've had photographers working for me which I had to fire simply because they were technically very good, but basically did not like people. They would sort of go, oh, I mean, this baby was so blah, 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 and this mother, and oh, she was just like, and today, for instance, I have 5 photo sessions lined up. I have done 2, and I have 3 more to go. And you basically, I mean, I'm not saying you should do so many a day necessarily. Sometimes I do 1, that's fine. I might have days where I don't do any, but you have to like people. You have to, I really look forward to the next, to come in the door, the next, I don't know if it's a single person or it's a group of 30, I have no idea. And I know whatever comes in the door, I will do my utmost to help make this photo which they're really gonna like. So this is a service thing. You're there to serve. I mean, this sounds a bit humble, and it is and it is not, because you're also there to inspire them, and you're there to make them outdo their own expectations. You have to do something which is so much better, and you have to make them shine. If it's 5 people, you have to make them shine at the same time. So I'm not saying it's a humble approach, but you have to know what is your target. Your target is to get satisfied customers, okay? And that requires that you know the customer. So the first step of every session, if you're dealing with a client, a paying client, and not a model which is gonna do what you're gonna create, do something creative with, or whatever. You have a client. It could also be a business client where you have needs to do some work with a model or a few models or whatever. It's not the point. The point is you have to really do this step well. You have to know what the client would like. You have to know your client. You have to rub elbows with them a little bit. And that is also the big challenge, and why I love portrait photography, because I have 1 hour to perform this amazing thing. I have to get really under their skin, you know, and then I have to order them about and do this amazing photo which they're gonna fall in love with. And then I'm gonna give them some advice on what size should this be in, and how would it perform well, and so on. Now, that sounds like a lot, but let's just focus on what I really wanted you to understand, that your ambitions when there's a portrait is to make something which is gonna really match and overdo what your client would be satisfied with. You have to understand them, you have to know what they want, have them talk about it, and then outperform that, make it even better. Yeah, I think that was the words for today. I know I could keep on talking, so I have to sort of make like, so we'll make it a cut here. Thanks for your attention.